The laughter echoed through the massive chamber like thunder. Admiral Ji-hoon stood perfectly still in the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, representatives from 200 different alien civilizations filled the curved seats that rose up toward the ceiling. Some of them were still laughing. Others whispered to each other, their various alien features twisted in what looked like amusement or contempt. Ji-hoon kept his face blank. He had expected this. Ambassador Yuna, standing beside him, did the same. They had both known this meeting would not go well. Earth had come to the Galactic Council with a simple request. They wanted permission to colonize 3 worlds in a region called the Outer Reaches. Just 3 small planets that nobody else wanted. The Council had denied the request. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was how they had done it. The Vrelic's ambassador slithered forward on its long, snake-like body. Its scales caught the light from the chamber's glowing ceiling. When it spoke, a small device attached to its throat translated the hissing sounds into words that everyone could understand. "Your species," the Vrelic said, and its tone made clear that it did not think much of humanity, "has only been traveling through space for 200 years. 200! Some of the civilizations in this chamber have been exploring the stars for 10,000 years. 20,000. And you come here asking for colony worlds?" More laughter rippled through the chamber. A being made entirely of crystalline structures chimed in, its voice like breaking glass. "How many ships does Earth have, Admiral?" "Tell the Council. Tell them your mighty fleet." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened, but he answered. 27 ships, Counselor." The laughter grew louder. Someone in the upper seats actually fell out of their chair. They were laughing so hard. 27, the Vrelics repeated, drawing out the words. "The Dominion Empire alone maintains 40,000 vessels. The Korthan fleet numbers 32,000. Even the minor powers have hundreds of ships. And you want us to grant you colony rights with 27? The Council Prime sat at the highest point in the chamber. It was an ancient creature from the Korthan Empire, with 6 long arms and a body covered in thick armor plates. It had ruled the Council for 300 years. When it raised one of its arms, the chamber fell silent. "Earth," the Council Prime said, its voice deep and rumbling, "your petition is denied. You may maintain your observer status with the Council. You may continue to trade in the approved zones, but you will receive no colony worlds. This Council grants such privileges only to those who have proven their strength. Humanity has proven nothing except that it knows how to build a handful of ships and make noise." Several Council members made sounds that their translators turned into applause. Ji-hoon felt Yuna's hand touch his arm gently. It was time to leave. They walked out of the chamber together, their boots making soft sounds on the smooth floor. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say. They had known this would happen. Earth's leaders had insisted they try the proper channels, follow the diplomatic route, make the request according to Council law. Now they had their answer. As they moved through the long corridor that led to the docking bay, Ji-hoon pulled out a small communication device. It looked like an ordinary device, the kind that every space traveler carried. But this one was different. It used quantum entanglement technology, which meant it could send messages instantly across any distance. The Council knew about quantum communication, but they thought humans were still decades away from mastering it. They were wrong. Ji-hoon typed 3 words into the device. "Protocol Prometheus activate." He hit send. The message would reach Earth in less than a second. It would reach the hidden bases on Mars in less than a second. It would reach the secret stations scattered throughout the solar system in less than a second. And when it did, everything would change. Yuna looked at the device, then at Ji-hoon. 200 years, she said quietly. "We have been preparing for 200 years. "Yes," Ji-hoon replied. And now they will see what we have built. They reached their ship, a small diplomatic vessel that looked old and worn. The council members who saw it probably thought it was barely functional. They did not know that its engines were more advanced than anything the council had. They did not know that its hull was made from materials that could withstand weapons that would destroy most alien ships. They did not know a lot of things about humanity. That was about to change. As their ship left the council station and entered the darkness of space, Ji-hoon stood in the cockpit and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the message was being received. Somewhere out there, people were beginning to move. Engineers were powering up systems that had been waiting in silence for decades. Commanders were opening sealed orders. Pilots were climbing into ships that the galaxy did not know existed. Yuna came to stand beside him. "Do you think they will understand?" she asked. "Do you think they will realize what we did?" Ji-hoon thought about that. He thought about the 200 years of careful planning. He thought about the thousands of people who had worked on the Prometheus project in secret. He thought about the ships that had been built in hidden locations. He thought about the weapons platforms disguised as research stations. He thought about the massive construction yards concealed in asteroid fields and behind the moons of gas giants. "They will understand," he said finally. "When they see our fleet, they will understand everything. They will understand that we were never weak. We were patient. They will understand that we were never unprepared. We were careful. They will understand that we never needed their permission. We only wanted to see if they would grant it." The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, and the stars stretched into long lines of light around them. Behind them, the council station grew smaller and smaller until it vanished completely. But Ji-hoon knew that soon they would return. Soon the council would call for them, would demand answers, would want to know how this was possible. And humanity would show them. The message had been sent. Protocol Prometheus was active. In the Sol system, in the darkness between planets, in the cold depths of space where no one had thought to look, humanity's true fleet was waking up. 200 years of secret construction, 200 years of hidden work, 200 years of pretending to be weak while building the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. The Council had mocked Earth. They had laughed at humanity's 27 ships. They had denied the request for 3 small colony worlds. They would regret it by morning. 12 hours after the Council's rejection, alarms began to sound across the galaxy, not just in one place or 2 places, but everywhere. Every monitoring station, every deep space sensor array, every military outpost with the ability to detect energy signatures suddenly lit up with warnings. Governor Hyun-woo sat in his command chair on the Korthan monitoring station that watched the Sol system. He was from the Korthan Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. His species had been watching Earth for 50 years, ever since humans had developed faster-than-light travel. The job was boring. Humans rarely did anything interesting. They stayed in their own system mostly, occasionally sending out their handful of ships to trade or explore nearby sectors. But now his screens were going crazy with alerts. "What is happening?" Hyun-woo demanded, his mandibles clicking together nervously. "Report!" His sensor officer, a younger Korthan named Bexil, stared at the displays with all 3 of his eyes wide. "Sir, I do not understand these readings. There are massive energy signatures appearing throughout the human system, but they are not coming from ships entering through faster-than-light travel. They are coming from within the system itself." "From within? That makes no sense. Show me." The main display changed to show the Sol system. Earth's sun sat in the center, with the planets arranged around it in their orbits. But now there were thousands of red dots appearing throughout the system. Each red dot represented a major energy source, something big enough to be a ship or a space station. "Focus on Jupiter," Hyun-woo ordered. Jupiter was the large gas giant in the human system, a planet made mostly of thick clouds and violent storms. The view zoomed in on the massive planet. Hyunwoo felt his breathing stop. The planet's gravity well, the invisible force that pulled things toward it, was fluctuating, moving up and down in patterns that could not be natural, and there were things emerging from the clouds, huge things. Structures the size of cities were disconnecting from the planet and activating engines. "They have been hiding ships inside the planet," Bexil whispered. "How long have those been there?" Before Hyunwoo could answer, another officer called out, "Governor, look at Saturn!" Saturn, another gas giant with its famous rings of ice and rock, was also showing impossible readings. The rings themselves were emitting electromagnetic pulses in coordinated patterns. Hyunwoo had studied those rings. The Korthan Empire had sensor data on them going back 30 years. They were natural formations, just ice and rock and dust. Except they were not. They never had been. "This is not possible," Hyunwoo said, his voice shaking. "Construction on this scale would take thousands of years, 10,000 years. How did we not detect this?" A voice behind him said quietly, "Because we were not looking for it." Hyunwoo spun around. Minji stood in the doorway of the command center. She was human, one of the liaison officers that Earth had assigned to work with the Korthan monitoring station. She had been there for 5 years. 5 years of smiling and being helpful and answering questions about human culture. 5 years of seeming like she was just an ordinary diplomat. "You," Hyunwoo said. "You knew about this." "Of course I knew," Minji replied, walking closer. "I was part of it. Not the construction, I am too young for that. But the planning, yes. The concealment, yes. We needed people in positions exactly like this one, working in alien monitoring stations, helping to make sure nobody looked too closely at what we were doing." She pulled out a tablet and placed it on the console in front of Hyunwoo. On the screen were files, thousands of them, all marked with Earth Defense Force symbols and classification codes. As Hyunwoo watched, the files unlocked themselves. The classifications changed from secret to declassified. "Your government is releasing this information?" he asked. "There is no point in keeping it secret anymore," Minji said. "By now, every civilization in the galaxy is seeing what you are seeing, so we might as well explain it." She opened one of the files. It showed plans for Jupiter, detailed engineering diagrams of construction projects hidden in the planet's clouds. The work had started 160 years ago. Massive factories had been built in the upper atmosphere, using the planet's own resources to construct ships, hundreds of ships, thousands, all hidden in the clouds, waiting. Another file showed Saturn's rings. 30 years ago, human engineers had begun a project to hollow out the largest chunks of ice and rock. They had removed the material carefully, a little at a time, so that sensors would not notice. Inside the empty spaces, they had built weapons platforms. They had built power generators. They had built sensor arrays and shield projectors, and all the systems needed to turn Saturn's rings into the largest defensive station in known space. "The asteroid belt," Bexil said suddenly, pointing at another part of the display. "It is moving. The asteroids are moving in formation." Minji nodded. "Those are not asteroids. Well, they were asteroids, 70 years ago. We hollowed them out and built shipyards inside them. Each one is a construction facility larger than most of your cities. We have been building ships there for 7 decades. Hyunwoo felt like his mind could not keep up with what he was seeing. "How many ships?" he asked. "Your admiral said Earth has 27 ships." "Earth has 27 registered ships," Minji corrected him. "Those are the ones that operate in council space, the ones we needed to register according to treaty law. Everything else was built in our own territory. We did not break any laws, Governor. We just built more than we told you about." She opened another file. This one showed the final count. The total number of vessels that humanity had constructed in secret over 200 years. 47,000 ships. Hyunwoo's legs felt weak. He sat down heavily in his chair. This is not possible. Construction resources alone, the materials, the energy, the time. We use the entire solar system, Minji explained. We mined the asteroid belt. We collected gases from Jupiter and Saturn and the other gas giants. We built solar collectors around the sun to provide power. Every planet, every moon, every piece of rock in our system became part of the construction effort. And we did it slowly, carefully, making sure that anyone watching would only see normal expansion, normal growth, nothing to worry about. On the main display, more and more red dots were appearing. Ships were powering up throughout the Sol system. Some had been hiding on the dark sides of moons. Others had been camouflaged using stealth technology that made them look like space debris. Still others were emerging from underground bases on Mars and Earth's moon. 200 years, Hyunwoo said softly. Your entire time as a spacefaring civilization, you have been preparing for this. Yes, Minji said. We knew the Council would not take us seriously. We knew they would see us as children, as newcomers, as weak. So we let them think that. We showed them 27 ships and let them laugh. And while they were laughing, we built 47,000 more. An alert sounded. The communication systems were receiving a broadcast on all frequencies, a message being transmitted to every ship and every station in the galaxy. Hyunwoo put it on the main speakers. A human voice filled the command center. It was calm, measured, confident. This is Commander Tae-hyun of the Earth Defense Force, broadcasting from the EDS Indomitable. For 200 years, the Galactic Council has denied humanity's requests. We were told to be patient, to earn our place, to prove our strength. The display showed a ship. It was massive, dwarfing anything the Korthan Empire had ever built. 15 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor, it looked like it could fight an entire fleet by itself. We took your advice, Tae-hyun continued. We proved our strength. While you saw 27 ships, we built 47,000. While you dismissed us as children, we mastered technologies you have forgotten. And now, we are done asking for permission. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's true strength revealed itself. On 1,000 worlds, in 100 different civilizations, military commanders and political leaders stared at their displays and tried to understand what they were seeing. Captain Nari sat in the command chair of the Shadow of Mercury, humanity's most advanced stealth frigate. Her ship was small compared to the massive dreadnoughts and carriers that were revealing themselves throughout human space. But it had a very important job. It was positioned less than 1,000 kilometers from the Galactic Council station, hidden by stealth systems so advanced that the station's sensors could not detect it. Nari watched the station through her displays. She could see ships beginning to move in the docking bays. The council members were panicking. They were trying to contact their home governments. They were trying to understand how this could have happened. Captain, her sensor officer said, we are detecting 17 alien warships moving toward the station. They are coming from different directions. I think they are responding to distress calls from their council representatives. Let them come, Nari said calmly. We are not here to start a fight. We are here to make sure nobody does something stupid. Throughout the Sol system, humanity's fleet was fully active now. The massive construction yards in the asteroid belt had opened like flowers, revealing the ships that had been built inside them. The atmospheric stations from Jupiter had formed up into carrier groups, each one controlling hundreds of smaller fighter craft. Saturn's rings glowed with power as the weapons platforms came online, and everywhere, human ships were appearing from hiding places that had concealed them for decades. Ships emerged from behind moons. Ships detached from the surfaces of airless planets where they had been covered in rock and dust. Ships powered up in deep space, shedding the camouflage that had made them look like dead hulks or floating debris. Admiral Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, the flagship of humanity's revealed fleet, Around him, officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment for their entire careers. Some of them had parents and grandparents who had worked on the Prometheus project before them. This was their family legacy, their life's purpose, coming to completion. "Status report," Ji-hoon ordered. "All fleet elements are active and responding," his tactical officer replied. "We have 47,312 vessels under command. All systems are green. We are ready for any contingency." "Transmission from the Council Station," the communications officer announced. "They are requesting immediate contact with Earth's government." "Tell them Ambassador Yuna will be there within the hour," Ji-hoon said. "And tell them she will not be coming alone this time." Yuna was already on her way. Her diplomatic ship, the same one she had used to leave the Council Station in humiliation 12 hours ago, was returning. But this time, she had an escort. 50 human warships flew in formation around her vessel, and behind them, the massive bulk of the Indomitable cast a shadow across space. Inside the council chamber, chaos reigned. The representatives who had been laughing the day before were no longer laughing. The Vrelix's ambassador was coiled tightly around itself, a defensive posture. The crystalline representative had dimmed its internal light, a sign of fear in its species. Even the Council Prime, ancient and powerful, looked shaken. "This is an act of war," someone shouted. "An act of war?" another voice responded. "They have not fired a single shot. They have simply revealed what they built. They deceived us. They hid this from the Council. They followed every treaty," a third voice argued. "I have reviewed the regulations. There is no law requiring a species to report all ships built in their own territory. They only had to register ships operating in Council space. They did that. They registered 27 ships. And those ships are the only ones that have ever entered Council territory." The argument raged on until the chamber doors opened and Yuna walked in. The room fell silent. She looked exactly as she had the day before, calm and professional in her dark blue uniform. But everything else had changed. "Council Prime," she said, bowing slightly in the traditional gesture of respect. "Thank you for seeing me on such short notice." "Ambassador," the Council Prime rumbled. "Explain this. Explain what we are seeing throughout your system." "Of course," Yuna replied. "What you are seeing is the result of 200 years of careful work. When humanity first developed faster-than-light travel, we knew we would need protection. We knew the galaxy was full of old, powerful civilizations that would not take us seriously. So we made a decision. We would build a fleet large enough to ensure our survival. We would do it quietly, carefully, and legally." "You call this legal?" the Vrelix's ambassador hissed. "Yes," Yuna said firmly. "We followed every treaty, every regulation, every law that the Council imposed on us. We registered the required number of ships. We stayed out of restricted zones. We paid our trade fees and tariffs. We never broke a single rule. We simply built more than you expected us to build." A new voice spoke up. It was Dong-yun, appearing as a hologram beside Yuna. He was the chief engineer of the Prometheus project, the genius who had designed many of humanity's most advanced technologies. He looked young, but there were deep lines around his eyes from years of intense work. "If I may explain the technical aspects," Dong-yun said. "Humanity developed several key technologies that made this project possible. First, we perfected quantum stealth systems that can hide ships from almost any sensor. Second, we developed construction techniques that allowed us to hollow out asteroids and build inside them without detection. Third, we learned to use the natural features of our solar system as concealment." He brought up diagrams and images as he spoke. "Jupiter's clouds are so thick and violent that sensors cannot penetrate them effectively. We use that. Saturn's rings are naturally chaotic and full of debris. We use that too. The asteroid belt is so large and full of rocks that a few more rocks went unnoticed. We built our fleet in plain sight, hidden by the very environment we were working in. The council members listened in silence. Some of them looked angry. Others looked impressed. A few looked frightened. "What does Earth want?" the Council Prime asked finally. "This display of power must have a purpose." Una nodded. "We do have a purpose, Council Prime. Yesterday we asked for 3 colony worlds. You denied that request. You mocked us for having only 27 ships. Today, we are not asking any more." She projected a star map into the center of the chamber. Highlighted on the map were 300 star systems scattered across a wide region of space. "These systems," Una said, "are in unclaimed space according to council law. They are frontier regions, far from major trade routes, considered worthless by most civilizations. We are claiming them. We are establishing colonies there. We are moving our ships into position to protect them. This is our declaration of intent, as required by council regulations for claiming unclaimed territory." 300 systems? Someone gasped. "You asked for 3, and now you are taking 300? "Yes," Una said simply. "You taught us an important lesson yesterday. You said that the Council only recognizes strength. We are showing you our strength. If you wish to dispute our claim to these systems, you may do so according to Council law, which I believe requires a military challenge to be issued and accepted." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from the most powerful military civilizations in the galaxy. None of them looked eager to issue that challenge. "We do not want war," Una continued. "We want peace, security, and the right to expand our civilization. We want trade, cultural exchange, and cooperation with other species, but we will not be denied our place in the galaxy because you think we are weak. We are not weak. We were never weak. We were patient." The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then the Council Prime spoke. "This council will take your claim under advisement. We will meet in closed session to discuss this matter." "Take all the time you need," Una said politely. "Our fleet will remain on standby. We look forward to your response." The closed session of the Galactic Council lasted for 6 hours. During that time, the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy argued, debated, and tried to find a way to respond to humanity's revelation. Some wanted to reject the claim and force Earth to back down. Others counseled caution, pointing out that starting a war with a species that had just revealed 47,000 hidden warships might not be wise. Outside the council station, Captain Nari kept her position in the shadow of Mercury. More alien warships had arrived, dozens of them now, representing the military might of various council members. But they maintained their distance. Nobody wanted to fire the first shot. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving a coded message from the Corthan Fleet Commander. He wants to speak with someone from Earth Command." "Put him through to the Indomitable," Nari ordered. "Let the Admiral handle it." On the Indomitable's bridge, Admiral Ji-hoon accepted the communication. A hologram appeared in front of him, showing a Corthan officer in ornate military armor. The alien's mandibles clicked in what Ji-hoon had learned was a sign of respect. "Admiral Ji-hoon," the Corthan commander said, "I am Fleet Commander Rexath of the Corthan Imperial Navy. I wish to speak plainly if I may." "Please do," Ji-hoon replied. "What you have accomplished is remarkable, unprecedented. In 10,000 years of Corthan history, we have never seen anything like this. To hide such a massive construction project for 2 centuries requires planning and discipline that few species possess." Rexath paused. "I am curious. Why did you wait? Why not reveal your strength earlier?" Ji-hoon considered the question. "Because we needed to understand the galaxy first. We needed to learn the rules, study the politics, identify the power structures, and we needed to build enough ships that when we finally revealed ourselves, nobody would be able to ignore us or dismiss us. A sound strategy, Rexath admitted. I will tell you honestly, Admiral, there are voices in the Council calling for military action against Earth. They feel threatened. They feel deceived. And what is your opinion, Fleet Commander? My opinion is that attacking Earth would be suicide, Rexath said bluntly. You have more ships than the 3 largest fleets in the Council combined. Your technology appears to be more advanced than ours in several key areas, and you have had 200 years to prepare for exactly this scenario. You have war-gamed every possible response. You have plans within plans. The Korthan's eyes narrowed. Tell me I am wrong. Ji-hun smiled slightly. You are not wrong. I thought not. I will recommend to my Emperor that the Korthan Empire recognizes Earth's claim to the frontier systems. I suspect several other civilizations will do the same. It is the smart choice. After Rexath's hologram faded, Ji-hun turned to his tactical officer. Assessment? 17 major fleet groups are maintaining position around the Council station, the officer reported. Weapons are powered but not actively targeting. They are waiting to see what happens. However, 3 smaller civilizations have already withdrawn their forces. They are not going to challenge us. In the Council chamber, the closed session was reaching its conclusion. The Council Prime had listened to hours of argument from all sides. Finally, it raised all 6 of its arms for silence. We cannot change what has happened, the Council Prime said. Earth has revealed a fleet that changes the balance of power in this region of space. We must decide how to respond. We have 3 options. First, we can reject their claim and go to war. Second, we can recognize their claim and admit them as a full Council member. Third, we can delay and try to find a diplomatic solution that satisfies everyone. War would be costly, one representative said. Even if we win, and that is not certain, we would lose thousands of ships and millions of lives. For what? To control 300 systems that we previously considered worthless. But if we simply give in to their demands, another argued, what message does that send? Any species with enough weapons can claim whatever they want. They followed the law, a third voice pointed out. They claimed unclaimed territory, that is legal. The size of their fleet does not change the legality of their claim. The debate continued until diplomat Suman, one of Yuna's senior advisors, requested permission to speak. She appeared as a hologram in the center of the chamber. Honored Council members, Suman said, I understand your concern, but I ask you to consider this from a different perspective. For 200 years, Earth has been a minor presence in galactic affairs. We have traded peacefully. We have not started conflicts. We have not threatened anyone. The only reason you are upset now is because you did not know how strong we were. She paused to let that sink in. Ask yourselves this question. Would you prefer that we had revealed our strength by attacking someone? Should we have conquered our neighbors to prove ourselves? Should we have seized systems by force and made you respond to aggression? We chose a different path. We built our strength in secret, yes, but we did so defensively. We did not use our fleet to attack. We used it to claim empty systems that nobody wanted. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. She had a point. Furthermore, Suman continued, Earth is willing to negotiate. We want to trade with you. We want to share technology. We want to participate in the Council as equals. We are not your enemies unless you make us your enemies. The choice is yours. When the Council session finally ended, the decision had been made. It was not unanimous, but it was decisive enough. The Council Prime announced the results to the full chamber with Yuna and her advisors present. The Galactic Council recognizes Earth's claim to the 300 systems in the frontier regions, the Council Prime declared. Furthermore, Earth is hereby granted full membership status in this council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Earth will have a permanent seat, access to all trade routes, and participation in all council decisions. There was scattered applause from some sections of the chamber. Other areas remained silent, their representatives still angry or afraid. However, the Council Prime continued, and its voice hardened, there are conditions. Earth must agree to regular inspections of its military facilities. Earth must share basic specifications of its stealth technology so that we can develop countermeasures. And Earth must commit to using its fleet only for defensive purposes, not aggressive expansion. Yuna bowed. We accept the first and third conditions. As for the second, we will share some aspects of our stealth technology, but not all. Just as other council members maintain military secrets, so will we. However, we will provide enough information to ensure that our ships can be tracked and identified by council sensors when operating in shared space. Does this compromise satisfy the council? The Council Prime consulted with several other senior members in hushed tones. Finally, it nodded. It satisfies us. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Yuna of Earth. Welcome as a full and equal member. Yuna smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and sincere, but there was also an edge to it, a reminder of the power that backed up her words. Thank you, Council Prime. On behalf of humanity, I accept this honor. We look forward to a long and productive relationship with all the civilizations represented here. As the formal session ended and representatives began to file out of the chamber, many of them approached Yuna to offer congratulations or to request private meetings to discuss trade and alliances. The mood had shifted completely from yesterday's mockery to today's respect. The Vrelix ambassador slithered over, looking distinctly uncomfortable. Ambassador Yuna, I wish to apologize for my words yesterday. They were spoken in ignorance. I did not understand humanity's true position. Apology accepted, Yuna said graciously. And let me assure you, Ambassador, that Earth has no hostile intentions toward the Vrelix Confederation. We hope to establish trade relations with your people. As the Vrelix ambassador departed, looking relieved, another human figure approached Yuna. It was Minji, who had just arrived from the Korthan monitoring station. Well done, Minji said quietly. 200 years of planning and it came together perfectly. Almost perfectly, Yuna corrected. We will have to be careful now. We have their respect, but also their fear. Fear can be as dangerous as contempt. 6 months had passed since what people now called the Prometheus revelation. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Human ships now patrolled trade routes that had been plagued by pirates for centuries. The frontier systems that Earth had claimed were beginning to fill with colonists. And in the council chambers, Ambassador Yuna sat in Earth's permanent seat, participating in decisions that affected billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. Admiral Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching through the main view screen as the planet below slowly rotated. New Incheon, humanity's first major colony world beyond the Sol system, was a beautiful sight. Its oceans were deep blue, its continents covered in green and brown. Cities were already growing on its surface, built by the first wave of colonists who had arrived 3 months ago. Status report, Ji-hoon ordered, as he did every morning. All orbital platforms are operational, his tactical officer replied. We have detected no hostile activity in this sector. 3 merchant convoys passed through yesterday without incident. 2 more are scheduled to arrive today. And the shipyard? Construction is proceeding on schedule, Admiral. The first modules will be operational in 2 weeks. Ji-hoon nodded, satisfied. New Incheon was not just a colony, it was a statement. Humanity was here to stay, and they were building the infrastructure to support long-term expansion. The orbital shipyard would be able to construct new vessels using resources from the system's asteroid belt. Soon, Earth would not need to rely solely on the hidden construction facilities in the Sol system. Below, on New Incheon's surface, Engineer Dong-hyun walked through the construction site of the new Planetary Defense Center. Around him, thousands of workers and machines were busy laying foundations, installing equipment, and building the structures that would protect the colony from any threat. "Dr. Dong-hyun," a young engineer called out, running over with a tablet. "The quantum communication array is ready for testing." Dong-hyun took the tablet and reviewed the data. The quantum array would allow instant communication with Earth and the other human colonies, regardless of distance. It was one of the key technologies that had made the Prometheus project possible, and now it was being deployed throughout human space. "Excellent work," Dong-hyun said. "Begin the testing sequence. I want a full diagnostic before we go live." As the young engineer hurried off, Dong-hyun allowed himself a moment to look around at what they had built. 6 months ago, this planet had been empty, untouched by intelligent life. Now it had a growing city, defensive installations, and thousands of people making new homes under alien stars. It was the dream that had driven the Prometheus project from the beginning, the vision that had kept people working in secret for 200 years. Back in council space, Ambassador Yuna was attending another diplomatic reception. These events had become common in recent months. Every civilization wanted to establish closer ties with Earth now that they understood humanity's true power. The Korthan Empire had proposed a mutual defense treaty. The Vrelix Confederation wanted to establish joint research programs. Even the Dominion, which had been one of the most hostile voices in the council, was now seeking trade agreements. "Ambassador Yuna," a crystalline delegate approached her, its faceted body reflecting the lights of the reception hall. "My government wishes to discuss opening trade routes through human-controlled space. Your ships have made the frontier regions much safer. We believe there are opportunities for mutual profit." "I would be happy to discuss that," Yuna replied. "Please have your trade representative contact my office. We can arrange a meeting." As the delegate departed, another figure approached. It was Governor Hyun-woo, the Korthan officer who had been monitoring the Sol system when the fleet was revealed. He looked older than he had 6 months ago, though that might have been Yuna's imagination. "Governor Hyun-woo," Yuna said warmly. "How are you?" "I am well, Ambassador. I wanted to thank you personally. The Korthan Empire has reassigned me to a new position. I am now the diplomatic liaison to human space. It seems my experience makes me qualified." Yuna smiled. "I am sure you will do well in that role, and please tell Minji we miss her. She was an excellent liaison officer." "She sends her regards. She has been promoted and is now helping to train other humans for similar positions with other civilizations." Hyunwoo paused, then said more quietly, "I must ask, Ambassador, did you know? When you first came to the council 6 months ago and made your request, did you know it would be denied?" "Yes," Yuna admitted. "We knew. We had been watching the council for decades. We understood the politics. We knew they would not grant us anything significant until we proved our strength. That is why we were prepared to reveal our fleet. And if they had granted your request? If they had given you the 3 colony worlds you asked for?" Yuna was silent for a moment, considering the question. "Then we would have accepted gracefully and continued to pretend we had only 27 ships. We would have settled those 3 worlds and waited another generation before asking for more. The revelation would have been delayed, but not abandoned. Eventually, we would have needed to show our strength." "A long game indeed," Hyunwoo said. 200 years of patience. I am not sure my people could have maintained such discipline." Later that evening, Yuna returned to her quarters on the council station and opened a secure communication channel to Earth. Admiral Ji-hoon's face appeared on her screen, transmitted instantly via quantum link. "Ambassador," Ji-hoon greeted her. "How was the reception?" "Productive. We received 3 new proposals for trade agreements and 2 requests for mutual defense pacts. The Council is beginning to see us as a stabilizing force in the frontier regions." "Good. That was always the plan. Show strength, then show that we can be responsible with that strength." Ji-hoon paused. I received a message today from the Council Prime. They want to discuss our stealth technology again. They are concerned that they still cannot track all of our ships. Let them be concerned, Yuna said. We agreed to share enough information to prevent accidents, but not enough to eliminate our advantage. They will have to live with that. Agreed. How much longer will you need to stay at the Council Station? Another month, perhaps. There are still several agreements to finalize, but then I think I will take a trip to New Incheon. I would like to see what we have built there. You should. It is quite impressive. Ji-hoon out. The communication ended, and Yuna sat back in her chair, thinking about the journey that had brought humanity to this point. 200 years ago, when Earth had first developed faster-than-light travel, humanity had been full of hope and excitement. They had imagined a galaxy full of friends and allies, a grand community of civilizations working together. Instead, they had found a galaxy where power was the only currency that mattered, where old civilizations looked down on newcomers with contempt, where the strong took what they wanted and the weak were ignored or exploited. Humanity could have become bitter. They could have given up on the idea of joining the galactic community. But instead, they had chosen a different path. They had decided to become strong enough that they could not be ignored while maintaining the values that made them human. They had built their fleet in secret, not because they wanted to deceive anyone, but because they needed time to reach a position where they could negotiate from strength. And it had worked. On New Incheon, Captain Nari walked through the streets of the growing colony's main city. She was on leave from the shadow of Mercury, taking a few weeks to visit the surface and see what humanity was building. The city was still small, but it was growing quickly. Every day, new buildings went up. Every week, more colonists arrived. Children played in a park that had been planted with trees and grass brought from Earth. A market sold goods from a dozen different worlds, both human and alien. Artists had painted murals on several buildings, depicting humanity's journey to the stars. Nari stopped at one mural that showed the Prometheus project. It depicted the hidden construction yards, the ships emerging from concealment, and the moment when humanity revealed its strength to the galaxy. At the bottom of the mural, someone had written a quote. They mocked us for our weakness. We proved our strength. They will remember us for our patience. It was not attributed to anyone specific. It did not need to be. It captured what every human felt about the past 6 months, about the 200 years of preparation, about the moment when everything had changed. A young colonist, perhaps 10 years old, approached Nari. "Are you really a ship captain?" the child asked. "I am," Nari replied. "Did you fight in the big battles?" "There were no big battles. We revealed our fleet, and the galaxy understood that fighting us would be foolish. Sometimes, showing strength is enough to prevent conflict." The child thought about that. "So we won without fighting?" "Exactly. That is the best kind of victory." As the sun set over New Incheon, casting long shadows across the young city, Nari thought about the future. Humanity had secured its place in the galaxy. They had 300 colony worlds to settle and develop. They had trade routes to protect and allies to maintain. They had earned respect through strength and patience. But the work was not done. It would never be done. The galaxy was vast, and there would always be new challenges, new threats, new opportunities. Humanity would have to remain vigilant, remain strong, and remain true to the values that had guided them through 2 centuries of secret preparation. The Council had mocked Earth at that meeting 6 months ago. They had laughed at humanity's 27 ships and denied the request for 3 small colonies. They had thought humans were weak, naive, and inconsequential. By the next morning, humanity's fleets had rewritten the balance of power in the galaxy. They had shown that strength was not just about what you displayed, but about what you prepared in silence. They had proven that patience was not weakness, but strategy. They had demonstrated that humanity could play the long game better than civilizations 10 times their age, and in doing so, they had earned something that could never be granted or given, only taken and held through strength, wisdom, and resolve. They had earned their place among the stars.